coming out of the weekend, a crazy weekend of all kinds of wonderful pro wrestling action from all the promotions. But then things got a little bit crazy, didn't they? After a wrestling pay-per-view or even a movie or anything like that, I love to go online and watch videos following up on it. You know, watch people's reactions, people's reviews, see what other people had to say. And with AEW, I love those media scrums. You know, I go right on and I watch the media scrum after the show. And I went into this blind, man. I had no idea what I was walking into. So, boy, did I walk into it. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
I haven't had anything to do with Scott Colton in almost a decade. Probably wanted nothing to do with him even longer than that. It's fucking unfortunate that I have to come up here and speak on this when I'm on my time and this is a fucking business. Why I'm a grown-ass adult man and I decide not to be friends with somebody is nobody else's fucking business.
I made it really clear in Forbes, and I just want to make it clear again. Nick,
it's not his position to make it very fucking clear. There's people who call themselves EVPs that should have fucking known better. This shit was none of their business. I understand sticking up for your fucking friends. I fucking get it. I stuck up for that guy more than anybody, okay? I paid his bills until I didn't, and it was my decision not to.
Yeah, but I shouldn't have no commented when Nick first said it. It's my fault, and if I hadn't, it's my fault. It's my fault.
I appreciate that.
I should have just taken it head on because you never said
anything. But I'm trying
to
run a fucking business, and when somebody who hasn't done a damn thing in this business jeopardizes the first $1 million house that this company has ever drawn off of my back and goes on national television and does that, it's a disgrace to this industry, it's a disgrace to this company. Now, we're far beyond apologies. Right? I gave him a fucking chance. It did not get handled, and you saw what I had to do, which is very regrettable, lowering myself to his fucking level. But that's where we're at right now.
That was certainly something to see. Look, it's got a lot of people talking, that's for sure. I don't know that it's for the right reasons, though. AEW's already got this negative connotation about, chaos backstage. The inmates are running the asylum. Tony doesn't have control. Everybody hates everybody. There's drama, beefs. And then now all of a sudden, apparently, after this press conference, there was a fight backstage. A fucking fisticuffs altercation where Punk apparently left the media scrum and very shortly after was confronted by the Young Bucks. I don't know if Hangman was there or not. That's possible, but at least we know for sure the Young Bucks and Punk and Ace Steel got into some sort of confrontation, and punches were thrown. We don't know exact details as of yet. Those details are still coming out, or are differ between who you hear it from. But apparently, the Young Bucks had confronted Punk backstage about his comments, basically burying the EVPs and Hangman and all that stuff. And it turned into fisticuffs. I don't know who threw the first punch. It was said that Nick Jackson caught a good one in the eye that put him down. Gave him a black eye or some shit. I don't know. And then somebody was saying that Ace Steel was throwing chairs, that he threw a fucking chair at somebody and hit somebody with a goddamn chair. And then apparently he bit somebody too. I don't fucking know. So now you got fights happening backstage. So what is going to come of all this? And what do you do with this if you're Tony Khan? I think especially with the fight, I think you have to. I mean, look, he just suspended Eddie Kingston for trying to pie face Sammy, and that was barely anything. So now you're dealing with your top star, your world champion, and your executive vice presidents of whatever the fuck they are, of the whole company, EVPs of AEW. I think you gotta suspend people, right? Like, can you suspend the EVPs? Can you suspend your champion? Do you suspend your champion? Do you fire anybody? I wouldn't fire anybody off of this. I would seek to either fine or suspend everybody involved in the fight. And Ace Steel, if he's throwing chairs at people and biting people, this fresh off of when he was dropping F-bombs on TV, I don't know how entirely valuable he is to keep around at this point. Other than that might piss off Punk and make him less likely to want to play ball with you. I don't know if he was a Punk hire or a Punk recommendation, or if he just coincided with, he was just picked up because he was the right person for the job and just so happens to be friends with Punk. I don't know. But I would say that if anybody's looking to lose a job out of all this, it's going to be Ace Steel. I think that would be a good place to start. But I think just a good hefty round of fines and possibly suspensions on all this would be in order. Suspend them all for a couple weeks, a month, at least the same amount that you did Eddie Kingston, just so you're not setting a precedent that, depending on how big of a star you are, decides what you can get away with and what you can't. Tony's got to put his balls on the table. And a lot of people are criticizing Tony about not, putting his balls on the table or stopping Punk from saying what he said in the media scrum. What exactly would you expect a Tony Khan to do in the middle of that media scrum? Is he going to stand up and tell Punk to shut the fuck up? Punk already talked over or put down Tony Khan, cut him off twice when he was trying to talk. So Tony's not an intimidating presence to the point where he's going to be able to shut Punk down in the moment. He's going to have to wield his sword backstage as a boss. And what do you do? Because part of the fun of this is that this is what's fun about having CM Punk on the roster. CM Punk is a fucking lightning rod for controversy. And controversy ultimately does create cash. CM Punk, the problem, the fine line you want to walk is that you don't want this to turn into like Punk burying the company to the point where nobody wants to watch it anymore, or people don't take it seriously, or don't have respect for anybody there. You know what? You don't want Punk to sink the goddamn ship, but you want him to be a live wire on these conference calls. All that shit with Colt Cabana is fair game. You know what I think is that's not the place for it, but look, fuck, I'm not gonna, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm not gonna be mad at Punk for airing out his grievances. He needs a platform too. Whoever's leaking shit to the dirt sheets are leaking shit to the dirt sheets. Punk's not that, he's not going to reach out to Meltzer to give his side of the story. But he has the platform in front of everybody in the wrestling media right now, right here and now. Now's as good a time as any to squash this shit, to nip it in the bud, to give my side of the story and tell everybody that disagrees to fuck off. Or anybody that doesn't believe me or whatever, you know what I mean? Fine. I wouldn't be totally pumped about it as Tony Khan, but I'd let it fly, and I wouldn't even say anything about it, Like, afterwards, I'd be like, you okay? To Punk? Make sure he's okay. And just let it go. Dude had to air out his grievances, and he chose there to do it, and that's part of the magic of CM Punk. You get the good, you get the bad. You take them both, and there you have the facts of life. The facts of life. But that's what you get, You get both sides of Punk. You get the guy that is a fucking, he's a live wire. He's a lightning rod. He is dangerous with a microphone in his hand. And that's part of the fun of Punk. So all of that would have been fair game. But when he started to bury the EVPs and say that, this place is, run by a bunch of children, and just all the negative stuff that really buries AEW. Because when it was just Colt, he was burying Colt, which is his prerogative, and he was burying the dirt sheet medias for getting the wrong spin on it. And if he wanted to allude to people backstage leaking stuff that don't know what they're talking about, or it's only one side of the story, he could do that. But as soon as he started basically, going into the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, I guess to a lesser extent, I don't know, and Hangman especially, like, and then, just disrespecting Tony to a certain extent by cutting him off and by saying that Tony likes to book him with a bunch of assholes and stuff like that. Like, these are the kind of things that don't need to be said publicly ever. And those are the things that I'd be pretty pissed off about if I was Tony, because that's going to hurt AEW now. Everything about Colt, that's between Punk and Colt. Does it belong on AEW's airwaves? Maybe not. But, such is life. You gave Punk a microphone, like I said. I'm going to be okay with that. I'm going to not be okay with the EVPs. I'm going to have a talk with Punk after. Maybe after a couple of days, let him cool off. He's coming off of a match. He's pissed off. He's hurt. He's crabby. All that stuff. Give him a call in a few days and be like, or even bring him in, on TV day when he's there on Wednesday. Bring him in the office early and be like, bro, I know you were upset. That's fine. I get it. I want you to feel comfortable saying what you got to say on the microphone, but let's just not do anything that's going to actually hurt the company itself, because at the end of the day, Punk's the biggest star in AEW, but he can't take AEW down, and AEW has to exist after CM Punk is done with wrestling or done with AEW or whatever he decides to do. He walks off in anger or he retires a legend. Whatever he does, AEW's still got to be around. We're still trying to run a business after. We need to be taken seriously. We got to be believable. So, that's the kind of shit that I would just try to, let Punk know. Like, man, I don't want to limit your speech. I don't want to tell you what you can and can't say. Regardless if I agree or, I'm not happy that you just aired your grievances about Colt Cabana on our fucking media scrum. But whatever, that's what you felt you needed to do. And, this was your time to take to do that. But don't bury the company while you're doing it, And that's what those words were also what led to the fight backstage. Now, once it got to the fight, now you're having instead of your nice little meetings with Punk, or I'll just, swallow that one and let him have it because he's pissed off or what. No. Now that you're going backstage and you're having fights with our executives and there's chairs being thrown at our executives and people are being bit. I think it was Kenny Omega that was bit, so I guess Kenny was in the fight, right? Kenny was there. And, if it's 2-on-3 or whatever the case may be, maybe Steele felt like, you got to throw in a chair. Throw a chair into the mix. That's your third man. Or, you bite somebody. I don't know. It's street fight shit coming out of him. But that dude just dropped an F-bomb on TV after the network came down on AEW. So Ace Steele's on my shit list if I'm Tony Khan at this point. This guy is not a safe guy to have around for your company. He's not worried about AEW. He's worried about himself, right? And Punk, your EVPs, regardless of who started the fight, they were all in on it. They should all be suspended, the same that Eddie Kingston was. If not for the fact that you suspended Eddie Kingston. If there was no precedent for any of this at all, then I don't even know that I would be saying somebody needs to get suspended over this. You just got to get cooler heads to prevail, talk it all out, work things out, and find a way to move forward. But yeah, you have to set the example that you can't just go fight backstage, and you sure as fuck can't throw chairs and bite people. So something's going to need to be done about this. I don't know if it comes in the form of firing Steele, but it should come in the form of fines and suspensions across the board for everybody. And I know Punk was just off TV, and he just won the AEW title. Suspend him. I know the Young Bucks just won the Trios titles and Kenny Omega, and they're the EVPs of the company, so they're technically they're boss level there, they're management. Suspend them. They all go home. They all sit home for 2 to 4 weeks. That's it. you're building up to Arthur Ashe. You get them all back in time to do your big angle for Arthur Ashe Stadium, and get those stories told, and then go from there. But wow, what a fucking scrum! Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I guess I didn't plan to do a full hour, but the whole scrum was, his thing was 20 minutes as it was, and pausing for commentary and all that. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, checking this out. I had to jump in and give my 2 cents on this story because it's the biggest story coming out of the weekend in wrestling. And I just got to tell you, like, when I was sitting on the couch watching this, like, I was just in shock of everything I was hearing with my ears. Like, I started to think, this is so outrageous that it has to be a work, but apparently it's not, and it's not leading anywhere. So that's your first sign that it's a work. Why, as if this is building to a feud of some kind, but it's not. So fuck, I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. Please leave down in the comments. I'd love for you to jump in. Is it a shoot? Is it a work? Is Punk in the wrong? Are the Bucks and Hangman in the wrong? Is Tony Khan a cuck? Give me all the juicy details on what you think, and we'll talk about this a little bit more.